This presentation is directed towards incoming freshmen and how the awarding process is started at Kent State University. Let's walk through the awarding process. At Kent State, we would like you to complete the FAFSA application as soon as possible after January 1st and by February 15th, so that the school has time to process your application. We recommend that you do it using estimated numbers early on in the process. After you filed your taxes and have a chance to update the FAFSA with current tax information, either manually or using the IRS data retrieval tool, we may have already awarded you. If this is the case, contact the financial aid office so adjustments can be made. When you complete the FAFSA with estimated numbers, try to make your best educated guess or complete the application using numbers from the year before, if they are close to being the same. If you have met the priority deadline, you're going to meet the priority date for some of our campus-based aid programs. There are several programs that are affected by that, such as the Perkins Loan Program, the Federal Supplemental Educational Opportunity Grant, and the Federal Work-Study Program. Those three programs have limited funding that we get from the Department of Education. In order to be considered for those programs, it is more important for you to meet that priority deadline of March 1st. That's why we say complete your FAFSA by February 15th so that Kent State has your FAFSA by the March 1st priority date. You will then be considered for the maximum amount of financial aid in which you are eligible. If you plan to attend courses in the summer, there is a separate application required for you to complete. The priority processing date for that application is March 15th. That means the application must be submitted by March 15th to meet the priority processing and summer payment deadlines. Summer financial aid is not additional money. Typically, it comes out of the student's fall-spring financial aid. If you apply for summer financial aid, you need to make sure you budget that for a 12-month plan instead of the 9-month fall-spring plan. The summer application is available beginning January of the year you are attending, and the last date to request summer financial aid is July 31st. Summer bills are then due in mid-May. After you complete the FAFSA, the student will receive an email with a link to their Student Aid Report, or SAR. The SAR is a summary of information that was submitted on the FAFSA. On the SAR, there is going to be a lot of critical information. If you made a mistake on your FAFSA, there may be an indication that there's something that you need to correct before your application can move forward to the school. For example, if you make a mistake where your name doesn't match your social security number, or you switch your first and last name, your application can't move forward. There is a phrase on the Student Aid Report that will say, "There is issues with your application that need to be resolved before we can award your financial aid." If you see that phrase, you need to react and make a correction in order to move forward. Some of those errors actually prevent the application from downloading properly into our system. At the same time that you get that information in your email, Kent State gets an electronic copy of your FAFSA results as well. Kent State students will have a checklist through the Kent State Student Portal Flashline. Students can log in and click on the tab called New at KSU. This has been a very valuable resource for students, as you can see where you are in the enrollment process. If there is a red triangle, that means you are missing some requirements, so pay attention to that checklist. This is where you can view the status of your FAFSA and if Kent State needs any additional information from you during the enrollment process. Students can allow parents or guardians access to Flashline through what is called KSU View. It is up to the student what select items they choose the parent to view. The parent would then receive their own username and can access the account through Flashline. Students can also sign a FERPA release form to allow a parent or guardian to contact Kent State regarding the student's account. Both of these can be completed in Flashline by the student under the Student Tools and Courses tab. Continuing with the awarding process, when we receive your FAFSA results, we're running it through a series of checks. One of those checks is called verification, where we actually have to ask for your tax information. It's kind of like an audit system similar to what the IRS does for your taxes. Prior to us actually awarding you, we need to make sure you complete the verification process. This would only need to be completed if Kent State asked for the information. The awarding process does not begin until mid-March, after the priority date. Once we start awarding you, we run it through our awarding program, and then we will send you an email that will say, "View your awards on Flashline." At that point, the student can go view their financial aid awards, and there is a wealth of information and links that you can click on. Freshmen will also be mailed a paper financial aid award letter, and that is going to list all the financial aid and scholarships that you were awarded as a result of the FAFSA. You may have been notified about scholarships previously. However, those are going to be listed along with all the financial aid that you are eligible to receive. With that financial aid award letter, there's a guide to tell you about how to make decisions about what other types of financial aid you might want to take. This is the time that you can reach out to us if you have any questions or are having a hard time deciding on what type of loan you should take, or if you even need to take a loan. You can call, email, come in, or make an appointment with a financial aid counselor. Tuition bills are published in July for the fall semester and December for the spring semester. You'll register for your classes, and that will generate your bill. Your bill is going to list your charges, including tuition charges, and your room and board charges if you made that selection. All of the financial aid that you are awarded before the bill is published will appear as a credit on your bill, and then ultimately you're going to remit the balance due to the bursar's office. So once we receive your FAFSA, how can we determine what financial aid you will receive? You probably have heard about some financial aid programs that require financial need as a component. They're looking at a lot of different factors to determine need: the FAFSA results, the tuition amount, and different things in your cost of attendance. Before we can actually get to the point of awarding you, we have to make sure your FAFSA results are clean. That means you passed all of the federal database matches. Therefore, we need your FAFSA to be error-free. To determine if your FAFSA is error-free, we look at the following. Did you pass the Social Security Administration check? Did you pass the Veterans Administration? Department of Homeland Security? Selective Service? If you indicated that you are not a U.S. citizen, did you list the alien registration number? Those are the types of things that get checked. If your FAFSA is deemed error-free, you will receive your expected family contribution, or EFC. The EFC will get generated if your FAFSA has passed all of those matches. If it does not, then you will not have an EFC appear when you get your FAFSA results. You will then know more about where you fall on the eligibility spectrum because it will also tell you whether or not you qualify for a Pell Grant. It will be listed on your confirmation page of what you could be eligible to receive. It is now up to Kent State to determine ultimately what type of financial aid you're going to get based on that expected family contribution. The expected family contribution is a number that the financial aid office uses to determine your financial aid eligibility. A lot of people think that they have a direct correlation to what you end up paying. But what you end up paying is the total cost minus the amount of financial aid that you are awarded based on that EFC. The net amount is how much you're really going to be paying the university. That will vary based on your choices, because if you choose a more expensive room or you choose a more expensive food plan, you could have a higher cost because your financial aid is going to remain the same based on your EFC number. So how does the EFC get calculated? The government has a formula that is operating behind the scenes that takes all the data that you submitted on the FAFSA, such as your income, your assets, your parents' income and assets, and a few more factors. Here's an example of what might be considered a low-needs student. This family is on the higher end of the income spectrum. What do these factors indicate? This indicates that the student is probably not going to be eligible for a federal Pell Grant or any need-based grants. But how the calculation works is it shows that even though the student is low need, they still may qualify for a need-based student loan, which is a loan that has no interest while they're in school. They do still demonstrate need, but just not as much as someone in this next example. In this example, the parent's income is less, along with the assets reported. Therefore, the student does demonstrate a higher need and may qualify for a Pell Grant because their EFC falls within the eligibility range. They would actually get notified right on their FAFSA results if they qualify. So what happens if you have two in college? If you have two in college, it's not a 50-50 split of the EFC, but accounts for that second student in college and gives you a little bit of a break on the EFC. When you have two or more in college, it takes the parent's income and it takes the formula a little bit more forgiving. So your Pell Grant eligibility has gone up as your EFC went down. It distributes a little bit over these two students. In order for you to determine your financial need, Kent State sets a cost of attendance, which is a budgeting tool that helps us determine what your expected costs will possibly be at Kent State based on what your plans are for the upcoming year. It includes direct and indirect costs. Direct costs are those items that you're going to be billed for from Kent State. If you are commuting, the only thing you're really going to be billed for is your tuition based on your enrollment and maybe some miscellaneous course fees. Now you're going to have books, but that's not a direct cost because you're not going to be billed for books through Kent State. You're actually going to go to the bookstore or online and make a purchase. Indirect costs are the items that you have to plan for, like books, gas and miscellaneous items, and that's why they're included in the cost of attendance. To view Kent State's most current cost of attendance, visit www.kent.edu/financial-aid/COA. Think about costs before you make your selections on room and board because there's a big variance between meal plans and residence halls on campus. If you choose more premium options, you need to know what the extra amount is going to cost per semester. Some families just want to know what they're going to owe Kent State. In that case, you just need to take your direct costs and then subtract your financial aid, and then the net amount is what you would need. Some families want to plan for the whole cost of attendance, including indirect costs. In that case, you would take your cost of attendance and then subtract your financial aid. What is left may include some of your direct costs and estimated indirect costs. So in order to figure out financial need, we take the cost of attendance and we subtract the expected family contribution. That result is your remaining financial need, and that's what number we use to determine your financial aid eligibility for need-based programs. If you have any additional questions about the awarding process, please contact our office at 330-672-2972 or visit our website at www.kent.edu/financial-aid.